Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Really excited to talk to my friend Brian Daly today. We're going to be talking about some very innovative ways to generate leads through relationship marketing. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Excited to talk about this topic too. I've always been really big on relationships. You know, a lot of people that have been on the show know this, but through over time, I'm big on building my own network, my relationships with people that ultimately turned into Investor Fuel, which you're a member of. But you know, in terms of marketing, it really is in many ways an untapped niche because a lot of us want immediate gratification. We want to like send out mail and buy a house right now. And the relationship stuff just takes time. And there's really an art to it. So excited for you to kind of share what you're doing and share that with some other folks that are watching today.
Yeah, I am too. I do agree it takes time, but when it plays out, the numbers really make sense.
So. Yeah, no doubt. So, hey, before we jump into this, why don't you tell us a little about your background as an investor or before you became an investor even?
Okay, I'll try to do this.
You don't have to go back to birth. I mean, but just like tell us a little bit, kind of how you got into the space and a little bit about yourself.
So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, like many people. And I got it for when I was 17. I hadn't really done much personal development or business development at that point, and that book I just fell in love with. And from that point forward, real estate was always something I wanted to do. Business was always something I wanted to be involved in. And personal development was always a theme in my life. Fast forward through college, because that was just a blur. At the end of college, I knew I wanted to get into real estate. And in my head, it made sense at the time. I wanted to learn the financing side first. So I started with loans. I had the pleasure and honor to work with a small entrepreneur who was bold and fun to work with and just had a bunch of cool ideas. And that kind of rubbed off on me. That's when I really fell in love with the entrepreneurship side of business. But loans, and I learned a lot, got into marketing, got into business building and all that stuff with him. But loans kind of took a hit with the 2006-07 meltdown. So
yeah,
had the opportunity to go be an asset manager for a bunch of foreclosure banks so one of the big four banks, I guess I can say the name, JP Chase, I was an asset manager for, and until end of 2011, just had it was an amazing experience to be able to see a bigger business operate. We were an outsourced asset management company for JP Chase, and I was an asset manager for them. So anyway, I ran over 2,000 transactions, from the foreclosure sale until we sold it most of the time to investors.
Yeah. Was that all in San Diego where you're at now? Or?
Oh, no, sorry. 13 states.
Okay.
A lot in Florida, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all around. But I did also do California and San Diego. Anyway, so I don't know if anybody was around back then, they'll remember in 2010-ish, there was like this robo signing fiasco within the banks.
Yeah.
Completely shut our industry down for 6 months, and we couldn't do much. So that's when I really was like, okay, this is a time. I'm going to go figure out this investing thing. Had a partner. We started with $5,000 in our name, and we just went out there and made it happen through wholesaling. It's like a lot of people.
Awesome.
the smart decision we made here is that we rolled all the money into the business and allowed us to go full time really, really quickly. So I went full time in January 2012, and over the next 5 years, I guess, we built that company up. Primarily doing flipping here in San Diego. We eventually started syndicating apartments and started a construction company. But from 2005 to the end of 2016, for 2 years, the business partnership was very rough, to say the least. It was an amazing learning experience, but rough to be in. And finally had enough. After threatening multiple times, I decided to finally walk away at the end of 2016. I couldn't do this quick. Sorry.
That's fine, man.
I
wish we didn't start from birth. I was like, yeah, tell us a little about yourself. Well, let's go back to the beginning.
Long story short, I was burnt out from real estate, burnt out from running a business. So I went to go run a company for somebody else in the info marketing space online, learned a ton. Darren Hardy, he's my mentor now. I can't speak highly enough about the programs that he puts out there. But 2 years in, had the itch again, wanted to go out and build my own thing, and started that in 2019. I've been doing it in San Diego since. We only flip. We have in-house construction. We focus only on properties that we're going to buy, renovate, and sell. Although, we will take some down as rentals along the way, and we'll buy about 100 properties this year.
Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff, man. And that's impressive in a market, the price points that you're at and all that. So kudos for ramping that back up quickly, and definitely some amazing success out there. I know what you guys have going on. So that's cool stuff. And you're an amazing leader, man. You have a really amazing team. I've met several people on your team. A lot of real estate investors struggle with that part of building a team. That's not really the topic what we're going to talk about today, but I know you've really put together an amazing organization. And so it's been very impressive for sure.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the funnest part about doing it has been building out the team. I really love, seeing really good people come in and flourish and take on stuff that, to me, it's kind of the highest form of laziness, right? It's just delegating stuff you don't want to do anymore. So, it's rewarding, and at the same time as it is scratching that lazy itch.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, none of us got in this business to be beholden to a job. Like, we really wanted to build something bigger, right? So bigger than ourselves. So cool, man. Well, let's jump into relationship marketing. You get a lot of deals from relationships with realtors and wholesalers, and maybe other people as well. And I know that it's not just calling a bunch of people and hopefully something falls out of the sky. It's a very systematic approach to building long-term relationships and nurturing them with content and other things that might exist. But talk a little bit about just kind of high level, what does relationship marketing mean to you, and kind of why do it?
Well, there's, put simply in the business, I see two primary funnels of getting new leads. One is through an incredible machine that has to be built nowadays in order to go market to sellers, or a very thoughtful long tail approach to building relationships with people that can refer you leads. I went back and forth when I originally started. It's like, which one do I want to do? And to me, it lines up with my strengths more than direct seller marketing does. I love marketing, but I am not a big fan of the one-to-one sales. It's just not my thing. And so when it was just me starting up again, that's why I originally made the choice. It's like, this is what I'm going to start with. This is what I'm good at. I already had kind of a network at that time. Why do it though is, to me, when you look at the economics of it, I'll just use my example here in San Diego. It'll cost probably anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 in direct seller marketing, just in marketing expenses, not in labor and all that stuff to buy a property from a seller. And usually, not always, but usually it's a one-time thing, and they're done.
Right.
And with a referral partner, you you create a relationship with somebody that their network and or marketing is the one paying to generate the leads. And so you're kind of paying for the result after you already have the result. Maybe you're paying a little bit more on the purchase price, but you have no upfront marketing expenses.
Yeah.
And then if you do that once with that person, you have a trust built with somebody that can do it multiple times across over a year. I mean, we look at it as our average referral partner refers us about one property a year, but some of them refer us like 15.
Oh, wow.
And so from an economic standpoint, strictly, I mean, our cost per purchase on the, direct seller acquisition side is, 5,000 to 7,000, whereas our cost per purchase on the referral partner side is like $50. So that's why we do it. I think I think now more than ever, there's more opportunity in the referral partners. In the past, since I'm older now, been doing this over a decade, which is crazy. And at least I'm going to speak about San Diego. Every market is different. Demographics are different and whatnot. But in San Diego, it was the referral partner stuff that we would do was through short sales and foreclosures. That's where the leads would come from, and the source of those leads would be real estate agents still, and then we would buy from wholesalers every once in a while. But on the it was very rare that we got direct sellers or sellers referred to us off market to buy the house that was in disrepair or something, because
right.
For the most part, that was kind of looked down upon. I mean, most agents, if they're dealing directly with the owner, it was just understood that they're going to get more money just by putting it on the market, and you don't deal with the shady investors. I think the new iBuyer wave has completely flipped the script, and a lot more sellers are going to real estate agents, which in San Diego, our market is kind of dominated by real estate agents. I mean, there's 30,000 of them, and
oh, wow.
And most people still have a friend or family member that's a real estate agent, so they're usually the kind of first call when something comes up. So yeah, I mean, now real estate agents have caught on to the idea that, hey man, this is what people want. We live in an Amazon inspired world. They want the easy button. People have more equity than they know what to do with, especially now. So
right.
You're willing to sacrifice it for the easy offer. So
some convenience. Yeah.
I think that is why more people should be doing it, because I think it's, even if this is just a San Diego conundrum, I do think it's going to spread into other markets.
Well, I've always said through everything that I've done, I don't know if these numbers are entirely accurate, but they're not far off, is that the off market kind of deal, percentage of deals that happen kind of off market in America is probably around 5%. Like it's a relatively small number. Then the retail market is 95%. Now, some subset of those are also distressed, right? And they might be able to come to a guy like you or me, right? But some, obviously a big portion of the retail market is true retail ready. Like there's not a lot of value add opportunity people want top dollar for. But there's no doubt that kind of retail channel, the stuff that kind of would go on the MLS or through realtors anyway, is way larger than the off market piece, is my kind of, that's my belief. So in my experience, but so let's talk a little bit about, I know you go after, you kind of work with realtors, you work with wholesalers. Let's talk about why would realtors even want to work with you? Like, what's the benefit of them coming to you versus just listing it on the MLS like they would normally do? Like, are they bringing only distressed stuff to you, and how are they incented to bring it to you versus to just list it and let the MLS work?
Very good questions. So
that's my job, Brian.
I know. I'm just trying to figure out where to start. Okay, so we'll focus on real estate agents. One thing, why would a real estate agent bring us a property off market? mainly because, and this is the key part about working referral partners, because they can trust we're going to do what we said we're going to do. And usually when we're getting something off market, it's because the seller wants this done in one shot, one and done.
Yeah.
And we pay as much commission as we possibly can. And, you know, if they're already have a signed listing agreement with a seller, then that, you know, whatever that fee is what that fee is. Sometimes we have people come bring us properties that they aren't getting paid by the seller, and we tack on a commission for them. We tack on a finder's fee, usually about 2%, if we can fit it. And then the cool thing about, you know, referral partners that get it is if you're really open and honest about what the numbers look like and why they look that way, and you say, look, we can't pay the fee on this one, or we can't pay as much on this one, but we'll, you know, if we do better than expected when we sell it, we'll make it up to you. You know, a lot of these, you know, a lot of people really want to help the sellers, and they understand the numbers. And as long as I found as long as you're just brutally honest and not trying to hide anything, and don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, they respect it. And, you know, the worst they're going to say is, no, this doesn't work. And okay, you just go on to the next one.
Right.
So we pay as much as we can. You know, it does, you know, it's from a real estate agent perspective, which does take a little bit of training on your part over time. But when they do a deal with you, even if they're getting 2% commission or 1% commission compared to a 2.5% buyer's fee or listing fee, we make it so easy on them that they realize that they barely had to work for that.
Right.
And for them, I mean, the ones that really get it, they realize that they can do this over and over and over again and have a much more profitable and less stressful business. Because the worst part about dealing with clients is the emotional toil that it usually is involved in just trying to wrangle them together to make decisions and stick to those decisions. And
Sure.
and they don't have to do that with us. It's non-emotional.
Yeah, so you're offering a level of certainty. You can close faster. We're not going to come back and, you know, with an inspection report. I mean, you probably have some room there if something comes back like, oh my God, we totally missed this. But it's not like a traditional retail seller that is going to have to go through a series of steps to get a, you know, whether it's getting approved for financing and passing the inspection for the lender as well, like all that stuff. You're basically the easy button, and they can, if they work with you, they pretty much know that their commission's safe and it's going to get locked in, potentially even represent you and maybe get both sides of the commission and all that stuff. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you know, what we've, you know, focusing on mainly referral partners is kind of forced us to focus on our service, our product, more than our marketing and our sales. And there's a great quote out there by Jeff Bezos, where he talks about, you know, in the past, you know, smart businesses would spend 70% of their time working on their market sales and marketing, and 30% of their time working on their product. That's shifted in this new consumer focused economy. And that has been a real key part of our success with referral partners, because they, you know, they're a microcosm of just consumers. What they want a great experience, and they want surety and confidence, and they want things done fast.
Right.
And so we've really focused on, you know, working on ways that we can provide quickly and efficiently non-contingent offers that we feel comfortable leaning into and you know, putting our money behind it, and sticking to it once we do. And that really has stood out a lot. And I think it stands out a lot with sellers too. And I think with the new onset of, you know, this iBuyer wave and whatnot, I think it's going to become more and more important to focus on on that side of the product.
So how do you build relationships? How do you start to, whether it's educate or entertain or whatever it might be, with agents to basically build that relationship? Like, it's not as simple as just, putting in an offer for something that's on the MLS, or you could pound the phones and just call all the realtors and introduce yourself. I mean, there's obviously way more kind of art to it than that. So talk a little about how you build a systematic approach to building, to kind of starting those relationships, and then maybe talk a little about how you nurture them, right?
Yeah. So it really does start with it's less of a strategy and more of a character, a heart issue. Like, it starts with the spirit in which you're trying to have these conversations and dialogues and make offers. The key thing that I always told new acquisition people coming in, and anybody that asks me, it's like, look, when I'm dealing with a real estate agent or a wholesaler, I focus less on that property and I focus more on the person, and getting to know them, getting to know what makes them tick, what matters to them, trying my damnedest to buy that property, but making it very clear to them at the beginning that I care more about the relationship than I do this one property. I know if we do right by you, we'll have more opportunities in the future.
Sure.
So I think that spirit is the most important. Before I did anything fancy, all I did was that, and make phone calls, and make, at the time, again, it was foreclosure and REO, foreclosure and short sale dominated market. I would just make phone calls and off properties that are on the MLS that are being listed, for clearly to just try to find an easy cash sale for foreclosure or foreclosure and short sale, and that would be my script basically every time. From there, again, not fancy, just getting involved in that real estate community, and going to events and mixers, and I think a lot of investors, at least in our market, that have the money and actually do the buying, they go into these situations and feel like they're the important ones, and that they need to be, that they can throw their weight around because they have money. And to me, that's what turns most real estate agents off.
Yeah.
If you approach it from that same spirit, they're the client, even though technically from their point of view, you might be the client also. I'd look at it as like, hey, they are the client. I would be nothing without them, because we get 95% of our business from these people. So
yeah,
I treat them that way.
Do you go directly at agents, or do you try to go to brokers that have a bunch of agents under them? And I know there's a lot of brokerages that have, maybe once a week, or maybe more frequently, they have gatherings or trainings or things like that. And in fact, I've been to speak at some before over the years. Are you going after like brokers and saying, here's how I can help your agents and help you, by the way, or are you going after just individual agents typically?
When we started just individual agents, because I find brokers don't have that much sway, to be honest. But they are a good in to those individual agent conversations.
Right.
So I used to go do like what's it called, lunch meetings, lunch and learns
and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that works. I mean, the cool thing is all of this stuff works, and it doesn't cost that much money. It just takes effort. But it's also when you get in front of a broker and you're talking to multiple agents at once, you got to make sure you can perform, right? Sure. I mean, you got to be up there and talking confidently.
Right.
I do feel like, at least in our market, this does not work for a wholesaler. Because people have caught on to that. It can.
Right. They're just going to go resell it again. And not that there's anything wrong with wholesaling, but your ability to guarantee that you can perform is different if you're a wholesaler versus you're going to take it down and rehab it for sure.
Yeah. If you're dead honest about it with real estate agents, like, hey, I've got these buyers, and this is what I do. And you create that kind of relationship and trust with people. There are people out there that I know that have great relationships with wholesalers. They know they're wholesaling and they're okay with it because they perform and they know what the hell they're doing. It's just tougher.
Yeah. So how do you nurture those relationships? So how do you, because I'm sure like everything, you get a bunch of people that, yeah, I'll send you my deals, I'm interested, and you get this big list, and then nothing. Some of them, maybe it's just math like everything else, right? It's just you have a huge list and some perform, some you never hear from again. And so,
Yeah.
but how do you nurture those relationships? I know you have a newsletter and you do some other things. I mean, perhaps you do more than that, but how do you kind of nurture those relationships because effectively, just like any sort of follow-up, what you really do want to be doing is like tapping them on the shoulder, like, hey, I'm still here. Hey, don't forget about me. Right. So how do you kind of nurture those relationships over time?
Well, exactly that. I mean, again, when I started, when it was just me, I had a goal to make a certain number of conversations every week and write a certain number of handwritten letters, thank you letters. And that's it. I mean, go to a certain number of events and, just stay in touch. I have like little tools here that I help, that I use to help my acquisition people, and then I also used to use. So I have like a referral partner sales pipeline, and then I have a way. We categorize our potential prospects, referral partners, like A, B, or C.
Right.
Is this person 3+ deals a year? Is this person 1 to 2 or 0 to 1? And that helped me focus on making sure I was spending more time staying in front of the people that had the opportunity to send us more deals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I mean, this is gonna probably overwhelm people. It doesn't have to, but I have a database of over 3,000 real estate agents and wholesalers that we've talked to at some point in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not just me. I've got 3 other partner acquisition managers that are out there, adding to that. But I think our like we'll buy 100 properties this year, and I think our number of referral partners, people that we've actually closed deals with, is about 75.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, to buy 100 properties in San Diego, almost $100 million in real estate, and it's just 75 relationships.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about wholesalers a little bit. So what do you do different with wholesalers? I mean, obviously the most common thing that people do is just get on a bunch of mailing lists, and they're shooting properties to you, and then you have to go evaluate, am I interested in this or not? Usually they're BS offers. And then somebody has to call them, and then 9 times out of 10, they're saying, oh, it's already sold. But that's not the relationship way. That's more of the reactive way than the proactive way of building relationships. So what do you do that's different than what we just talked about with realtors, but with wholesalers?
In the grand scheme of things, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
The one difference with wholesalers is I want them to make as much money as humanly possible. And I want them to know that. Like, my goal is to make you as much money as humanly possible, but to always be able to perform. And that's caveat. And sometimes that means I'm not going to be the highest offer. And rightfully so, and they should, because this is how they pay their bills.
Yeah.
They're going to go to, if they feel like they can and they're not risking the deal by going to a higher offer, they're going to, and I'm totally comfortable with that. How we stand out, how we focus on those relationships, it's very similar. I mean, getting to know them and their business, and and how they operate, and what they care about, what they look for, all those things, just getting to know them, is super important. So if, I don't buy from any wholesalers that we don't know really well. I mean, I'm on a couple lists, and I don't even, most of the time, because we're so busy right now, I don't look at them, because I know I'm chugging up a really steep hill to try to get that deal. Sure. The main thing I found, like the most successful I've been with wholesalers is finding the ones that are really active, but maybe don't have the best disposition strategy. And being the resource of going back to the same thing with the real estate agents. If we're going to offer, we're going to close.
Right.
And sometimes granted, I mean, I pay for marketing in other ways when I'm dealing with referral partners. I mean, sometimes I've bought skinnier deals than I want to in order, because we missed something and I already committed. So I'm not going to sacrifice that relationship. When we look at these relationships, I mean, just dollars and cents wise, I mean, especially wholesalers, because we're going to do 3+ deals a year with them. I mean, revenue wise, as long as we're doing our job right, on the analysis and and the flip and whatnot. I mean, that's 150+ grand in revenue for us in San Diego. So if I have to take a $20,000 haircut on a deal to make sure that I'm this person's first and main go-to investor, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you could do this in any market, but I think higher priced markets like yours are probably, you probably have a little bit of an advantage there in that there's not as many ready and willing kind of rehabbers that can guarantee that they can close, and hard money is a little bit harder to get on higher end properties and stuff like that. And so, but that's a good thing for you, right? And
I don't know. I mean, we have some of the stiffest competition when it comes to rehab.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely very competitive there, but
and hard money is super cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't had the benefit of working too many non-higher price markets, right? So I don't quite know how the dynamic changes.
Yeah, I could be off there, but when you're in markets with $100,000 houses or $80,000 houses, more people can scratch that together than a $500,000, $1 million house. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
What I would do, I mean,
and I'm not saying any of that to I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, it's maybe more.
No. I mean, what I would do is if I was in any market and had an established business, but you don't do referral partner sales, I would go get your MLS data from a title rep or something and just take a couple hours. I mean, the boons of figuring this out could be worth a lot more. So worst case scenario, you lose a couple hours. Best case scenario, you analyze that data and say, holy crap, look at all these cash sales that are happening through real estate agents. I wonder if they actually have a relationship with those buyers, or if they're just throwing stuff up on the market to see what sticks. And look at the numbers of what the person paid for it and what you could have paid for it, and what maybe even if you're a wholesaler, what you think a buyer on your list would pay for it. And you could, again, if you spend a little bit of time, you could probably find out whether or not this makes financial sense for you.
Sure, yeah. Is that how you, when you start to, maybe you can share a tip in terms of, so in your market, I don't know how many real estate agents there are in DFW. There's 8 million people here, so probably half of those are licensed. I don't know. I don't know how many are, but there's a lot. There's obviously, probably tens of thousands for sure. So in any market, just using this as an example, or your market as an example, when you start to say, well, I could start marketing or cold calling or sending emails or whatever it might be to tens of thousands of people, or do you say, well, let me find the people that are actually doing deals, or let me find the people that are actually doing cash deals? Do you narrow the list down when you're getting started for who to go try to talk to first?
Now, so yes, for sure. I would, depending upon the market, I would pull a couple different lists. I would find out who's doing cash deals for sure. That would start there. I mean, that's your low hanging fruit.
Right. Because they're probably investor friendly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also, I've found that the sweet spot in our market in particular, and this is definitely going to change by price point. But the agent that's doing 10 to 15 properties a year are typically the ones that have figured out the newbie stage and are going through the growth stage. And this is when they start to realize more opportunities exist with a larger network. And but they haven't quite, like for our market, they haven't quite nailed down who their primary investor is. So, going for the big fish to me has been quite a waste of time, because a lot of the times, even if you get an audience with them, they aren't the ones making the decisions. They're now running a machine. They're not turning the dials, so to speak.
Right.
So anyway, for our market, 10 to 15,000, 10 to 15, that's roughly, I don't know, like 100 to 200,000 in gross commissions for that agent. And they're usually, I've found the best ones, because they like once a year, like clockwork, they'll get an opportunity. And that's, imagine if you can get a seller to come back to you every year.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what are we talked a lot about some things inside of there, some things that work. What are a couple of things that you've seen people try to build relationships, or what are some kind of common mistakes or mistakes to avoid that, like, we tried this, but it just doesn't work?
So I mentioned a couple of them, lying. They can,
well, yeah.
that they can smell it. Be really, like, just ultra transparent. Even if you're doing your second or third deal or your first deal, just be ultra transparent. And if you're young, if you're newer in the business, then approach it from the standpoint of enlisting help and not being the resource that's going to save their business, right? That's not, it's just not realistic. So, just be, don't try to fake it till you make it. Just be ultra transparent. Going back to just check your heart, when you're starting these conversations. In the end, if you come from the right spirit, it's a numbers game, just like everything else. It's not like everybody I talk to, I've got a relationship with them.
For sure. Sure.
80% of the agents I've talked to in the past think I'm weird, but just if you approach it from the right spirit and don't get so entrenched in what the result is for a while, just focus on trying to make friends, trying to, build your network and be a resource, right? I always just try to give more than I'm taking in anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Try to give more than I'm taking. You're great at this, by the way. If you just try to give more than you take, then it'll work out. If you're doing a bunch of seller stuff and you're busy, I would just start with a couple hours a week. Just put it aside, and it's a lot. I find it a lot easier to talk to real estate agents than to sellers.
Yeah. No, for sure. Because you're entrepreneurs, right? You have your business owners. You have that mindset of how can we create a win-win situation here. So that's awesome, man. So in terms of you just talked about giving, and obviously you're a part of the Investor Fuel Mastermind. We're very big on giving there. In fact, you guys just won the biggest giver award at the last event by just being open and sharing so much. Everything you just said, you just proved at the most recent Investor Fuel event. But you've been a member for a little while now. I think you started right around New Year's. I think we talked like New Year's Day or the 2nd or something like that. Would you mind just sharing your experience so far? I know you've been in other groups before. Would you mind just kind of sharing maybe a little testimonial about Investor Fuel?
Yeah, absolutely. I've found the most transformational thing I've ever done in business is by joining a mastermind. I realized in the first mastermind I ever joined, how little I knew. And I realized that very, very quickly. And we had a successful business at the time, and I thought I was the shit. And I was like, I don't know, I forgot how old I was. I was young. And getting in a room of people that really understand the pains and the struggles and the victories and the feelings of elation as it relates to our specific business model is extremely just transformational. It was the biggest change that I made when we were growing the first company. And then when I joined Investor Fuel, I missed that. We were starting to grow and I realized that I didn't, from an entrepreneur standpoint, I could talk to other business owners, but they don't really get it. The intricacies, right? You got to just, so for me personally, the being able to just have people in a room that are, the beauty of Investor Fuel is that everybody there is just 100% open with everything they do, how they do it, why they do it. And there's I've been involved in some, the first mastermind I was in was amazing, but it also it seemed like there was a lot of ego and pride involved towards the end. And I don't sense any of that with Investor Fuel. And really that's how you get truly authentic and wise advice and strategies, and then feedback from people that that you feel like is coming from the right place. Anyway, so hopefully that explains it.
Yeah, that's great. Now we've got a good group, and that's part of our culture is just giving it. At the end of the day, you grow through vulnerability. Like I always say making mistakes is the stepping stone to success, right? It's not something you should hide. And I think in our group, people are open to admitting their mistakes, not, because they're not going to get called out, because damn, we all make them. So, and if you can help each other learn from each other's mistakes, then we're all able to climb the learning curve faster and kind of win and grow faster together,
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, you're crushing it out in San Diego. You've got a lot of great things going on. Thanks you for sharing all this knowledge with us today. If folks wanted to connect with you somehow, and learn about what you're doing or find some way to work with you or anything like that, where would they go to contact you?
So I'll just give my email. It's probably the best. So it's Brian, BRIAN at the San Diego homebuyer.com. Really nailed that brand on the head. So THE San Diego homebuyer.com.
We'll add that down.
And then you can check out our website on there too. We just redid it. It was it's been fun. I'm really liking our new look and feel.
I'll check it out. As soon as we get off here. And then if folks want to get on your newsletter, I know you've got a pretty amazing newsletter. How would they get on that?
Oh, great question. I didn't come prepared with my.
Sorry, I just thought of it, but I was like, I made this amazing resource.
I know the URL, but I have an easier text thing, but I don't have it handy. That URL is getrealreport.com. Backslash sign up with man, this is gonna suck. SIGN-UP.
Okay. Well, for those of you that are driving right now, and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm going to get an accident." Don't do that. I'll add it down below.
Thank you.
In the show notes, so you can just go to Investor Fuel, go under shows, and then check out Brian's show. We'll have these links in there for sure, buddy. So awesome. Well, hey, thanks for sharing amazing information today. I think, in this day and age, like obviously I run an agency, so I think very highly of paid advertising, but I don't think that everybody should have all their eggs in one basket. And, relationships are the type of thing that you can build that's a deep and wide moat, because most real estate investors and just most people are just kind of lazy and they're not willing to put that effort in. But if you're into relationships, if you're into creating win-win situations, I think you shared some amazing insights today that people can use. So thanks for that, my friend.
Cool. Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Always good to see you. Everybody, hey, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully you got some great value out of today's show. We'll add these links we talked about down below here, and you can learn a little bit more about Brian. He's a really amazing guy. If you haven't yet checked this out, go to investorfuel.com. You can learn more about our mastermind. If you're an active real estate investor, we'd love to talk to you and see if you might be a fit. Until then, we'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.